This episode of Mobile Geeks is brought to you by GoToMeeting. Nicole Scott here for Mobile Geeks, and today we're looking at three separate tablets. I'm going to be taking a look at the ASUS Padfone Infinity. So this is actually a 5-inch smartphone that docks into a 10.1-inch tablet, and I'm going to put that up against the Apple iPad 4 and Google's very own Nexus 10 tablet. So let's find out which one comes out on top. So here we have our three tablets in question. This is the ASUS Padfone Infinity. So if you haven't seen it before, this is the 5-inch smartphone that docks into a 10.1-inch tablet. So you can see the phone comes out here. Right, it's got a gorgeous 5-inch display, 1920 by 1080. It's got a Qualcomm Snapdragon 600 CPU. It's extremely thin. The phone itself is very thin. I believe it's 8.6 millimeters. Yeah. So anyways, this fits into the back of the 10.1-inch Padfone station, and you can see that it just pulls up whatever you had on the display. And then we're going to be comparing that to Apple's iPad 4. So this is the 4th generation iPad, also extremely thin. It's a very familiar design. It's very similar to the iPad 3, except for this one has the Retina display, and of course it has the Apple A6X CPU. So let's put this back down. And then the final tablet that we're going to be comparing it to is the Google Nexus 10. So this is made by Samsung. It's a 10-inch tablet, and it is of the Nexus brand, so that means that it gets all of Google's Android updates first, and it offers you a vanilla Android experience. So this is stock Android with no modifications, and well, it's obviously fantastic. These two Android tablets are running the same version of Jelly Bean 4.2. But ASUS obviously has made some customizations to the UI and added a bit of their own software. I would say that ASUS's iteration of Android is one of the better on the market. They haven't changed it that much, and what they have added are customized widgets. You can see they have a customized task manager as well. They have this great app here, what gives you the time and the weather. Their mail app is customized to do dynamic switching, whereas the Gmail app isn't. And they have a whole bunch of other things in here, like they have ASUS Echo, which is kind of the answer to Siri. So anyways, I'm going to get into the software aspect of these later, but I just thought I would point out that these two are similar but not identical. And then of course we have iOS 6. So if we take a look at the tablets themselves. So now when it comes to thickness, the iPad 4 measures 9.4 millimeters. The Nexus 10 comes in at 8.9. And you can see that the Padfone Infinity station is 10.7 millimeters high. But the thing is, when you put in the phone, you can see that it definitely adds a little bit of height. The weighting of the tablet's a little bit thicker because it is top heavy, because the phone does go in at the top. But I do like the docking mechanism of this. It's very seamless, very nice. But you can see here that it is very thick. Like when you put the phone in, it's just so much thicker than what you've got going with the two other tablets. Now what about the display on these units? Now the iPad 4 has a Retina display. So that is 2048 by 1536, and it's an LED backlit IPS display. Now the Google Nexus 10 actually comes in a little bit higher at 2560 by 1600. And the iPad Infinity is 1920 by 1200, so it is still HD, but of the three it has the least HD display. Now if we look at kind of I've uploaded a couple of photos on here, so we can kind of maybe do a little bit of a comparison for the vibrance of them. Now they all really do look pretty fantastic. I think they all look really great. Let's see if we can find all the same photos here. Now all of them are set to maximum brightness. In real world display, I mean, I'm going to let you decide which one's the best. I would actually call it a draw, although actually no, I would call it a draw between these two because the resolution on this one is just so much lower. But when it comes to pixel density, actually, even though this has the lower resolution, it actually comes up with the higher pixel density of 441, and then we have the Google Nexus 10 at 299, and then here we have 264. So the pixel density and the color vibrance and just the feeling overall, if I look between the three, this one does look really great. I mean, I do like the density. This one looks a little bit less, I guess, washed out with the white there. But overall, I'm not going to get too crazy about the minutiae of display. I know there are some other bloggers out there that could go to task for 20 minutes on this one subject. So if we keep on looking at the tablets, what's on the front, so they each have a front-facing camera. The iPad comes in last because it has a VGA camera. And then we have the ASUS Padfone Infinity, which has a 1 megapixel front-facing camera. And then the Nexus 10 has a 1.9 megapixel camera. When we flip it over onto the rear, the Padfone Infinity is the clear winner because it has a 13 megapixel camera. And the Nexus 10 is 2592 by 1936. And the iPad 4 is also a 5 megapixel camera as well. So these two both have 5 megapixel, and here we have a 13 megapixel camera. So now when we look at the cameras on each of these, I would say they're all kind of pretty much on par. They all have some sort of tap to focus where you can tap to focus on something different before you take each photo. They all have, very good lenses, and for cameras, I think all three of these are pretty much top of their game. When it comes to camera features, they all have geotagging, they all have focus, they all have face detection, video stabilization, but the Padfone has added a couple of pretty interesting extra things. They have this beautification here. You can make a GIF, HDR obviously, but the beautification app, and I'll go into the gallery here just to show you. I was trying to see if beautification would work on my dogs. All right, so here it is with a little bit of the beautification. There it is a little bit as well. And you can see that the beautification actually will make my eyes bigger, even out my skin, and narrow my face. So there it is a little more extreme. There I am with absolutely no makeup. This is pretty early in the morning. So let's go through that again. Eyes bigger, chin narrow. Eyes bigger, chin narrower. There's just a little bit, right? So I only modified it a little. And there's it a little bit darker on the rouge. So this is just going to be a really interesting app. So I do like a lot of the software modifications they have made on here. And yeah, so since they are, pretty on par with their features in terms of tagging and tap to focus and the rest of it, I think the beautification for me kind of puts the Padfone just a little bit ahead. Now what about memory? The iPad 4 comes with 16, 32, and 64. The Nexus 10 comes with 16 or 32. The iPad Infinity comes in 32 or 64. So because the Padfone Infinity and the iPad 4 offer 64 gig, and the Nexus 10 only goes up to 32, I guess these two would win over the Nexus 10. None of them have expandable memory slots, so that is not an option for any of them. So now when it comes to the weight of the tablet, the iPad 4 is 652 grams. The Nexus 10 weighs in at 603. So now when it comes to weight, the Padfone is a slightly different story because it is 2 units in one. The Padfone itself, the handset, is 141 grams. The station is 530. So the tablet alone is actually much lighter than what we've got with the other two tablets. But at 603, the Nexus 10 definitely wins it. And this is only 19 grams heavier than the iPad 4 when we have them combined as one unit. What about the processors on these tablets? These two, so the iPad 4 and the Nexus 10, are both dual core. The Padfone Infinity is obviously the newest of the two, and it's running on the brand new Qualcomm Snapdragon 600 processor. That's a quad core. So now I'm basically going to go in order. So the A6X, which is in here, basically, I'm not going to get too heavily into the benchmarking details on this, but basically this one would come in last. And then this would be followed up by the Exynos 5 Dual here in the Nexus 10 tablet. And then we've got the most powerful of the three here in the Padfone Infinity. So now what about user experience? Now, all tablets are going to be snappy enough. So if we just get down to what we're experiencing here on the software, I definitely think that Android does take it for the power user. Now, Apple definitely wins out with simplicity of design. If you're not very familiar with tech or have any want or need to kind of know how things work or don't really want to think about things too much, then Apple definitely does win it all. The Android Jelly Bean experience is a lot more powerful. Just in that, even what you can get here in the notification bar, if I had emails coming in, you'd be able to see all of that. So you can activate all of your mobile data. So these are some of the ASUS customizations right here. So they have an outdoor mode. You can access all these different things. There's some sound stuff in here. If we look at Jelly Bean over here, you can see that we have instant access over here to all of our connectivity things. If you go into Apple, you have to dig around a little bit. Now, where's the settings tab? And you have to go into settings. Oh, here it is. Sorry, I'm not that big on the Apple user. Then you have to click into there. So, I mean, I guess it's not too tragic to get to, but it's just, it doesn't feel like it's as easy. The notifications on iOS 6 just aren't as robust, and yeah, they're just not as robust as what you get on the Android experience. So if we take the iPad out of the mix and just look at what we have going on with the Padfone Infinity, it's running the same version of Jelly Bean. So everything that you would get with Apple, you still get, but you can see that there are some definite software customizations. So we can still go to Google. We can still go to ASUS Echo, so that's their version of kind of Siri. You can lock. So they've actually taken the idea of the launch bar that we have on Google that just goes to Google Now. Oops, sorry. That just goes to Google Now, and made it, just a little bit more robust. If we take a look at some of the other things, so we have the Padfone Assistant. You can use the dock solely as a charging. We have ASUS Echo, which allows you to make phone calls, ASUS Studio and Storyboard, which is kind of like a diary type thing. It comes with 50 gigs of web storage, which is like a Dropbox kind of thing. We have customized task manager. We have, intelligent calendars. So actually, of all of the Android iterations, I tend to like what ASUS has going on with all of their handsets, just because it's the least intrusive of all the iterations of Android that you see over HTCs or over Samsungs. It's the cleanest. So they've merely added software to it. They haven't changed the UI all that much, which I really appreciate, because to be honest with you, the vanilla Android experience that is offered on the Nexus 10 is stellar, and so it's very hard to improve on that, but I think ASUS has done a pretty good job of it. So now what about connectivity? They obviously all offer Wi-Fi. These two offer Bluetooth 4.0, this one's Bluetooth 3.0, so these ones are a little bit more power efficient when it comes to Bluetooth usage. Both of these offer, so that's the iPad 4 and the Nexus, and the Padfone Infinity, both of these come with LTE. This does not offer any connectivity options. The Nexus 10 is not a connected device, so these both have 3G and LTE options as well. One thing to keep in mind if you are curious, the Padfone Infinity, though it does have LTE on the 2100 band, it will not be compatible with AT&T. So if you're wondering what carrier that's coming out on, that should give you a pretty good indication if you are in the US. Now, before we get into price point and who I think each tablet is best suited for, why don't we hear from our sponsor? Now, it is becoming a lot more standard that when you leave on short trips, you leave your laptop at home and replace it with a tablet. GoToMeeting allows you to collaborate with your team or attend a meeting from wherever you are using their iPad or Android app. If you choose any one of the 3 tablets that we're checking out today, you'll be able to see everyone's face in HD or present directly from your tablet. You can easily join meetings with a single tap, view presentations and reports, pinch to zoom content, see attendance lists, and you'll be able to interact with everyone on the call like you're all in the same room. Visit gotomeeting.com and try it free for 30 days. Click the Try It Free button and use the promo code GEEKS. Remember to use the promo code GEEKS to support our show. Now, the Padfone Infinity is the new kid on the block. It is just released. It has the quickest processor. And, well, the one thing that I didn't really talk about in the comparison yet is the difference in usage that a smartphone tablet combo will give you. Now, a lot of you might think that maybe this isn't for you. And it's true. Maybe it's not for you. who I see this combo really working out for is the professional. This is a high-end product. It is an expensive product, but it is really for someone who travels a lot, somebody who doesn't have a lot of headspace to, load up their tablet and load up their phone. They want everything all in one. And when I travel, and I travel a lot, I actually really like this combination, that I just have to get my phone ready, because previously when I traveled, I would get my tablet ready with all the different things that I would need on it. I would get my laptop ready with all the things I need to get done on it. So it just kind of provides me with one less thing to do when I have so many things to do when I'm getting ready to go on the road. Now, let's talk price point, because we'll get back to comparing this to the other two devices. So this is a premium product. This is coming in at like $1,000–1,200. The Nexus 10, this is really a budget device at $399, right? And then the iPad 4, this comes in at $499 for the 16 gigabyte version. So in terms of price point between these two, the Nexus 10 I actually think comes out on top. It's got the faster processor, it's got the higher resolution display. When you look at the Padfone Infinity, this is only 1920 by 1080, which is just standard HD, but it does have a premium pixel density. So it has a 441 ppi. The Nexus 10 comes in at 299 ppi, and the iPad with its Retina display is 264. That's right. So even though they've dubbed it the Retina, and everyone, just kind of thinks it's the #1 display on the market, the Nexus 10 actually has a higher resolution and a higher pixel density. So if you're looking at it in terms of that, and multimedia is the most important thing to you, then, and you're not really that concerned, you're concerned about price, the Nexus 10. Now, the next thing that I want to bring up between these two devices, the Padfone Infinity and the Nexus 10, is that both of these are running on Android Jelly Bean. So they're both running 4.2. This, to me, is the superior operating system to Apple's iOS 6. The notification bar is more robust, and just overall, between the iPad 4 and what we have with Jelly Bean on the Infinity and the Nexus, the iPad 4 to me is really for the new user. It is a very simple UI. It's very easy to understand. And actually, I find the applications to be less robust. The notification bar on Android is just killer. The amount of things that you can do in it, you can pre-read emails. You can really control your system just from the notification bar. That's one thing that Android does have on iOS right now. You can argue with me all you want, because I know Apple fanboys are Apple fanboys, but at the same time, I really do think that this is really good for if you're not looking to be a power user, if you just want to use a tablet, if you just kind of want to do multimedia and check your email, and you don't really want to do anything too complicated, you don't really crave customization. That's something that you want to go with the iPad 4. But if you're looking for a lot of customization, the software pack actually on the Padfone Infinity, I think ASUS has done a really great job at it. I already went over a lot of the different features, and I will be having some solo videos of the software of the Padfone Infinity in our Padfone Infinity playlist. So if you want to check that out, please do. So, I guess in summary, I'm not declaring one winner overall. I think the Nexus 10 has to be the best value for the price out of all three of them. At $399, you get so much. You get the really high HD display, you get the thinnest tablet, but you don't get connectivity. That's what you'd lose out on. It doesn't have LTE like the other two. It doesn't have HTTPA. It is just a tablet, right? So it depends what you're looking for. With the Padfone Infinity, you're getting an entire ecosystem. You're getting your smartphone, you're getting your tablet, you're getting a streamlined way of life. So, but you are paying for it. So that is the big difference. So that's been my look at the ASUS Padfone Infinity, the new, the third Padfone on the market, the latest from ASUS, up against the iPad 4, which is the latest from Apple. And of course, we have Google's offering with the Nexus 10 from Samsung. So I've been Nicole Scott from Mobile Geeks, taking a closer look at 3 of the top tablets on the market today.